The screen brightens as your agent opens their eyes. You're in an elevator, but oddly enough, this elevator is traveling down. You stop at a floor labeled HQ. The door opens and standing in front of you is a man named Brimstone and a woman named Sage. Hey everybody, Jeppy here, and today I'm doing what Riot never did and giving you a Valorant campaign. I have some amazing ideas for missions the Valorant protocol could go on and monumental story arcs that could theoretically take place throughout a great campaign. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, so I really hope you enjoy what my vision of a story mode would look like. And hey, if this video does good enough and if Riot sees it, maybe, just maybe they'd consider working on a story mode campaign project. So to help out, make sure to like the video and comment down below hashtag Valorant Campaign to show the devs we mean business. So I think the best way to start off a Valorant campaign is to be a new agent that just got recruited into the Valorant protocol. I toyed around with the idea of instead of being a new agent, you would just play through with the various agents already in the game, but I thought it would be way more fun to create an agent and play the campaign with what you made. You could pick if you want your agent to be a Radiant or a human. I guarantee most people are of course going to pick Radiant. I mean, who wouldn't? And throughout the story, you would unlock more abilities and can add to your kit and swap around to suit how you want to play through the campaign. Maybe your agent started off with a build as a controller, but slowly transition your agent to suit a duelist playstyle. So once you pick your agent, you're loaded into the first mission. Here's the beginning of my story. Mission 1, Introduction and Tutorial. The screen brightens as your agent opens their eyes. You're in an elevator, but oddly enough, this elevator is traveling down. You stop at a floor labeled Headquarters. The door opens and standing in front of you is a man named Brimstone and a woman named Sage. They greet you with Brim giving you a firm handshake that looks like it might hurt, and Sage skips the formality and goes for a warm hug instead. They start chatting with you, explaining how happy they are to have you join the cause and how an agent like you can help save the planet. Confused, your agent asks what they mean by save the planet. Brimstone loudly tells a story of how there's multiple realities and this one called Omega Earth is the one that's been stealing Radiant from us, and the disaster at Venice, Italy is the cause of their attacks, not the cover-up. Your agent is very confused and can't believe what you're hearing, so Brim just goes on and on about it. Sage rolls her eyes, tells Brim that he's saying way too much at once and confusing you, and pulls you aside to take a walk through the headquarters. But not before jokingly giving Brim a hard time to get back to the office and fill out some paperwork. You take a tour of the facility with Sage, meanwhile getting introduced to agents along the way. You meet Neon and Killjoy. They seem very fun and welcome you with open arms. Sage introduces you to a man with long hair with a bow and arrow. You learn that his name is Sova. Then passing by is a standoffish woman that has this weird glowing pink light coming from her chest. Sage introduces you to this woman named Reyna, but depending if you picked a Radiant or human or not as your agent, she'll either ignore you if you chose human and keep walking, or she'll stop and say hi if you chose to be a Radiant. Before I go any further into this mission, guys, and this amazing story I can't wait to share with you guys for this campaign, a word from today's sponsor. Hey, do you live under a rock? I know it's a dumb question, but if you do, then I need you to bust out of there like Patrick Star and SpongeBob and hop on your PC to download Valorant Tracker. Since everyone else already knows what Valorant Tracker is, I'm talking to you Patricks out there. Since it's an amazing software that links to your Valorant account and, well, tracks pretty much everything about your stats. Everything from all your weapons, the best maps you play on, your best agents, and so much more. I also just now found out, like literally today on stream from chat, that you can search up guides to really any agent, and I literally just found out an amazing retake scan on Haven with a guide. I use it later in game to win some rounds. But of course, one of the best parts of Valorant Tracker is that you can see the ranks and pretty much everything else I just said with all the players in your game too. It's such an amazing tool, and I literally use it every single match of Valorant, like I'm not even kidding. It's built on top of Overwolf, which is a super trustworthy company, so it's got a great reputation. Use my link in the description or head over to the pinned comment to download Valorant Tracker for free, and of course a big thank you to Valorant Tracker for continuing on sponsoring the channel. You finally end up at a training room, the same one that we saw in the Warm cinematic, where a much more controlled and easy to deal with version of the Max bot is there to practice on. You learn all your abilities with Sage guiding you along the way and how to defuse the spike that she warns you the Valorant Legion uses to steal our Radiant with. Once the tutorial is over, an alarm blares throughout the Valorant Protocol's headquarters, so you and Sage rush to the command room to see what's going on. Mission 2, the Valorant Legion. A cutscene plays of you and Sage running to the command room and wait for further instructions. A bunch of other agents join you in the room, but some agents that aren't there in person pop up over a video call. You don't recognize really any of them, but you do see that their names are underneath their call, and they are Chamber, Cypher, Fade, and Astra. The alarm stops and a door opens with Brimstone walking in with a big robot you never seen before named KO. Once everyone is present, Cypher begins a breakdown of what's going on. Apparently, the Valorant Legion has launched another attack on Alpha Earth soil, this time in London, England. Cypher informs us that his intel placed there scouted an unidentified aircraft that landed near a Kingdom Radianite storage facility. Brimstone says a Valorant Protocol task force needs to be assembled immediately to combat the threat. Cypher is already there, so he'll stand by for backup. Brimstone recruits Sova, Yoru, Omen, and then he turns to you and says, "You ready for this?" Your agent eagerly shakes their head. It cuts to you flying in a Vulture helicopter with the other recruited agents next to you. Cypher sets up a landing zone and you land nearby. He rushes to the Vulture and says he just got notification that his tripwire was set off nearby the storage of Radianite. That means that the agents are really close. The task force gets off the helicopter and begins making their way to the facility. That's when the fighting begins. You see the Valorant Legion that looks exactly like your crew. In fact, you see an enemy that looks just like your Omen standing right next to you. There are also Atlas soldiers shooting at you as well. These Atlas soldiers are kind of like the grunts in the campaign, while the Valorant Legion agents are sort of like your quote-unquote bosses. Eventually, with some rough fighting, you make it to the storage area where an enemy Phoenix just planted the spike. Time is ticking and somehow you're the closest one to the spike. Your team is pinned down with gunfire, so Omen tells you to make a break for the spike with the diffuser and he'll lay down some cover smoke for you. Your agent finally gets there and it's a miracle, but you remember your training you just had with Sage not so long ago and managed to defuse the spike. The remaining Valorant Legion agents flee the scene. Mission 3, the raid. After a successful defense of London, the task force makes its way back to the headquarters. Brim and Sage congratulate you on defusing the spike on your very first mission. A few days go by and you are sleeping in your designated room at the headquarters. You are awakened by the odd sound of gunfire. You check your clock and it's 2 a.m. in the morning, so you're very confused as to why agents are practicing at the shooting range at this time. Then the alarm blares and you know that something way sinister is happening right now. You grab your weapon and head into the hallway. Atlas soldiers have somehow entered the building. You clear a couple hallways by yourself and then find a room where Sky and Breach are in. They just got done defending themselves, so they link up with you to help repel these attackers. Sky questions how they could have found the base, and better yet, how they were able to get in without tripping any Cypher's alarms with no one knowing. That's when you see that KO robot at the end of the hallway you saw with Brim earlier. You let your guard down expecting an ally when all of a sudden he throws a flashbang at you and blinds all three of you standing there. Then you remember that has to be a Valorant Legion KO. The sound of gunfire erupts as your screen goes red and your agent falls to the ground. You've been hit. Breach is also hit, but somehow Sky was able to fight back and drive the KO away. For now. She uses her powers to heal you and Breach both. It looks like the VP is getting the upper hand and repelling the attack. Just as the enemy KO was about to board the Vulture to escape, you use one of your abilities, Radiant in nature if you chose Radiant, or with a gadget if you're human, and destroy the Vulture, leaving him stranded. He pops his no command ultimate as a last stand, but with the overwhelming firepower between you and now the multiple agents that have met up with you, the enemy KO has been defeated. The headquarters survived. Everyone is wondering how this attack happened and how they managed to sneak into base. They're reminded that the KO must have suppressed Cypher's surveillance gadgets with his knife while landing. Killjoy takes the KO's robotic body back to the lab to hack into it. Mission 4, the hunt for Agent 8. With Killjoy hacking into the fallen enemy KO, she found some very interesting files they weren't expecting. Apparently, Agent 8, who used to be an agent on the protocol that has been missing for years now, is actually being held captive over on Omega Earth. Brimstone breaks down in tears as he felt like he's failed Agent 8, assuming he left the protocol due to a fight between them long ago when he's been a prisoner this whole time. He slams his fist on the table and demands they once again bring the fight back to them and get Agent 8 back. Once again, you are chosen to help with the mission along with Brimstone himself, Fade, Neon, Killjoy, Reyna, and KO. Since Reyna, Neon, Fade, and KJ have all been to Omega Earth before, Brim felt like they'd give us an advantage in this mission. Everyone gears up, walks into teleporter. The moment of truth. They enter. They were expecting it. The second everyone exits on the other side, they were immediately ambushed by Atlas soldiers and a few Valorant Legion agents as well. You fight your way in, and with the intel gained by the enemy KO, KJ hacked into earlier, you make your way to the prison cells of Omega. Finally, the agents get there and you find a beaten, starving, and frail man. Neon shocks the gate and it opens. Barely able to walk, Brimstone picks him up, and now your mission is to escort Agent 8 out of the facility and take him back home. You're battling waves of enemies, with the occasional Valorant Legion agent getting in your way with abilities. Just as you're about to make it back to the teleporter, a full-on defense of their facility is initiated, and every Valorant Legion agent is deployed. You're scrambling to get back with your squad. Brim is carrying Agent 8 and gunfire with abilities erupts all around you. One by one, your squad is able to make it to the teleporter until it's just you and KO left. A Valorant Legion Fade unleashes her ultimate and hits you and KO. You can't hear anything, and a flash from an Omega Earth Yoru blinds you. You assume KO was able to make it to the teleporter in all this chaos, and with a leap of faith, you jump into the teleporter. When you emerge from the other side, everyone is watching, waiting. Bleeding from the battle, you stand up and look for KO. He isn't there. Mission 5, the Radiant Wars. The screen pans back to Omega Earth. Only a few feet from safety and the teleporter, a disabled KO lays there, broken from gunfire and abilities. The Valorant Legion closes in and apprehends him. Just like how Killjoy did to their KO, they're going to do to ours. Although our KO is still alive, they hook him up to their hacking devices. We are shown a cutscene of the hack infesting KO's mind. Deep into one of his files, labeled Radiant Wars, the hack opens. We are then taken to a memory of KO from an alternate universe full of pain, death, and suffering. This mission, you are not playing as your agent you created. You are playing as KO, fighting in the Radiant Wars. The sky is red, fire and destruction is all around. Wounded humans surround you as you gear up for an offensive of Empress Reyna's army. KO looks to his left and sees Brimstone, except something feels different. This Brimstone looks defeated and sad. This looks like it might just be the last stand for humanity. Morale is low. A world in ruin. The fate of humans rests on this day. This battle. KO, Brim, and Sova, along with the few remaining soldiers left, set out to hunt down Reyna. After some intense fighting, you finally make it to her lair. Sova stays outside with the other soldiers to help combat the enemy Astra, Sky, and Sage, who in this timeline are pretty evil and powerful. Brim and KO confront Reyna in her lair. But in this stage of the battle, no matter how many times you may attempt it, you are always meant to lose. Reyna will always win, and every time you'll watch as she executes Brimstone. But after that, she's an extremely tough boss. But with enough play and managing your suppressions wisely, you can defeat Empress Reyna. KO picks up the lifeless body of his friend after he defeated the enemy and walks away. The screen turns a bright white, and we're taken back to Omega Earth in the lab. KO's robotic body finally succumbs to the damage and the trauma of the hacks. His screen fades to darkness and powers off for the last time. Mission 6, the Collider. We cut back to the Valorant Protocol's headquarters, and everyone is standing around listening to what Agent 8 is saying. He's going on and on about how Chamber destroyed the large Radion Collider at the Everett Lynn Research Facility on Fracture. Everyone is distraught, especially Killjoy, who breaks down in tears, screaming at Chamber. How could he ever do this? He denied it at first, and with his head held low, he admits he did take part of it and explains he was sent to destroy the LRC. He never knew who gave him the job and for what reason, but he was approached by his Omega double, and he told him that they needed to destroy it. But his double wouldn't go into any more detail on why they needed to destroy it. Agent 8 begins talking again and announces that he was the one who sent Omega Chamber to contact Alpha Chamber about the mission. He has learned while being interrogated over there that the collider they have on Omega is increasingly becoming unstable and altering reality there. Pretty soon, the entire Omega Earth and perhaps that entire universe will vanish from existence if the reality becomes unstable enough. That's why he had Chamber destroy the Collider on Fracture. It was a sacrifice to the scientists, but was a necessary one to keep Alpha timeline intact. With that new information, Brimstone orders the squad to sneak their way over to Omega, if possible, and gather as much information as they can on where the LRC is and how they can destroy it. Cypher, Yoru, Viper, Jet, and yourself head to Omega Earth once more. This entire mission is meant to be a stealthy, sneaking around one. You take out Atlas soldiers along the way as you make your way to the LRC, but in a stealthy manner. Anytime you alert the soldiers, there is a 20-second timer that if you don't defeat all soldiers in the surrounding area, they'll sound an alarm and notify the Valorant Legion, forcing you to start that mission over. Now, the mission is a success eventually when you locate the LRC, gather as much intel as possible, and make it out alive. The last mission, Mission 7, the Darkest Hour. You make it back to the VP's headquarters with all the intel you acquired. In the command room, disorder erupts as everyone figures out what they need to do. On one hand, they could just let Omega Earth destroy themselves, but on the other hand, if they got desperate enough and realized their reality is too unstable, they may launch an all-out invasion of Alpha Earth and our universe to call home instead. They eventually land at the decision that they're going to choose, hopefully, a peaceful alternative. They're going to try to make contact to Omega Earth and hand over all evidence they can to them that the LRC is too dangerous and destabilizing their reality. But they refuse to listen. Kingdom Industries, Omega Earth's kingdom, has brainwashed the public and even the Valorant Legion so much with propaganda that they are correct and there's nothing to be worried about. And they believe it. Agent 8 keeps pleading with them that they are going to wipe themselves out, but they are not listening. The command room erupts in debate again on what to do. They figure that eventually, when they cannot live there anymore, they will unleash a full invasion. So they need to destroy the Collider now while they still can. Every single agent gears up for the battle. Before you go, though, there is a nice heartwarming speech given to the Valorant Protocol's higher ups, and everyone goes to the teleporter at once. Agents with flashes come out first with smokes from the controllers scattering the area all around right behind them. Omega Earth was expecting this though. Omen and Yoru teleport behind enemy lines, and by the time you, the player, step through the teleporter yourself, it's an all-out war. Gunfire and a mix of everyone's abilities collide in an epic battle. The visuals and soundtrack are groundbreaking. Surprisingly, this is a very, very tough mission, and your average player will die a few times before they complete it. And a few Valorant Protocol agents have fallen as well. That all depends, though, on who you choose to save as a player, which determines which agent would die then. It's a tough decision you need to make as a player. Eventually, though, the defensive efforts of the defending Omega Earth are too much. You're beaten back to the teleporter and making a last stand. Brimstone tries one last plea to reason with them, but they refuse. It's looking grim. You will lose. Brimstone looks back at you, to Sage, and to the rest of his team, and decides he needs to make the ultimate sacrifice. Since the teleporter and LRC is inside one of the biodomes, in fact, it's in the Pearl biodome, we've already been there, an ocean of water is above the city. The rest of Omega Earth will still survive, but in order to destroy the Collider, the Pearl District needs to be destroyed as well. He orders all of you to escape back to safety through the teleporter while he stays. You and Killjoy are the last ones to escape, and just as you are about to enter the bright blue glow of the teleporter back to safety, you hear one last with tears down his eyes.
Open up the sky!
As an orbital strike gets called down onto the biodome, destroying it, flooding Pearl District as the ocean caves in above it in an attempt to save Omega Earth. The large Radiant Collider is submerged in water, no longer operational. The screen cuts back to everyone in tears over in the Protocol's headquarters. Their leader gone. Sage steps up as she was the second in command and is now tasked with leading the Valorant Protocol. Will Omega Earth retaliate? Are there more threats out there we don't know about? The screen fades to black with the text, Valorant Story will continue, the end. I really hope you all enjoyed my story. I could have made this like so much longer with extra missions and stuff, but I know this video is already getting pretty long though. What do you think about the story of a campaign? And do you think this at least be a decent groundwork for a campaign? Let me know by leaving a comment down below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe notifications if you're new. Now with all that being said, Jeppy out!